All right. Welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
And I am Brian Wright, and we're still working through some technical difficulties if you watch or listen on YouTube. But either way, we have made it to Thursday. I've been trying to encourage you to watch the series on Netflix called Clubhouse.
You have, Brian. And I've got it on my to-do list. I watched Moneyball today. Not like consecutively, but I watched it throughout the day, like folding some laundry, woke up, watched it a little bit, just kind of, man, I love that movie, but I know I'm a loser. You've told me to do something. I didn't do it.
I just need you because it's so just, it's thought-provoking. And what you can tell, couple of takeaways, and obviously I need you to watch it so we can really play off each other. And just, I didn't want to sway your opinion until you had watched it. But I'll tell you my couple of takeaways. The Boston team, and you've said this, they were a really close unit. They kept talking about how good a job Alex Cora had done making them close. Well, didn't they finish last year or next to last? Weren't they still pretty bad last year?
They didn't make the playoffs.
So being close had no impact. And you definitely have kind of reinforced that from a professional standpoint. And I tend to agree with you. College, I don't think it matters, but because the reality is you put the best players together, whether they like each other or not, really don't matter as far as whether you win or lose. But that was funny that was kind of an emphasis.
The 2024 Red Sox finished 81-81, third place in their division, the AL East.
Man, 162 games and still 500. But so that was one takeaway, that they tried to emphasize that as being something that should be, kind of a pat on the back. I guess you could say Alex did a really good job considering, no really established big leaguers. Story tore shoulder really early in the season. They're a really good shortstop. Duran, just kind of up and down. Kind of seeing him as a super talented, really head case. Don't really, like mental makeup, you don't see the confidence and just kind of the natural, what you need to be able to take some beatings from the media, from the game, from everything, and still be able to, come back and be a guy. And I'd say his stats have kind of bared that out this year.
Yeah, well, Dan Duran, he broke out last year, man. So believe it or not, Brian, I do play a little fantasy baseball, and I picked him up a little bit into the season. And he was great, man. Like I followed him. I tracked him a little more closely than some other guys.
But he's on the struggle bus this year. Dude can run like a cheetah, has all the tools in the world. Very likable, kind of a humble guy, or comes across that way. Drives like an old Ford Bronco. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, it breaks down. He calls like a buddy of his, and it's like, "Hey, beat on this box. You got a little short in this fuse box," and he beats on it. And the Cassis, the guys who's playing first base, is like, "All right, well, hey, how about this?" Cassis thinks he's calling AAA, accidentally calls, or I guess on purpose because he doesn't know, calls AAA limousines. And he's telling them this whole story about, hey, his friend of his has a broken down Jeep. He needs some help. And they're like, well, we're a limousine service. We can't help you fix your truck.
That's funny. Yeah, it takes all kinds, dude. But yeah, man, Duran. So Duran actually led the big leagues in plate appearances, at bats, doubles, and triples last year.
Can run like a cheetah, dude. Body moves really well.
He had 671 at bats last year. That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's a lot of ABs.
But he's hitting 250 this year with 0 home runs. I don't know if he's getting a PT. Obviously, Bregman is doing his thing. The last takeaway that I want to hear your opinion on. Everything with Boston right now, or at least last year, was about analytics. And literally out of the GM's mouth was, what is the easiest pitch to hit in the big leagues? And they said fastball. So they, as a staff, encourage and throw the least amount of fastballs. And like they were like 48% fastballs. And it's like, we want to be less. We don't want to throw fastballs. Anybody who makes it to the big leagues can hit fastballs. We don't want to throw fastballs. And I was just blown away by how it was portrayed, because I feel like your good fastball is what everything else plays off of. And so, I don't know. I was just kind of blown away with that being verbally stated, and
Yeah.
obviously what they knew was going to be a televised situation. It was just kind of,
Well, again, it goes back, and I mentioned this the other day. It feels like a lot of the people who are non-baseball people treat players like they're the MLB the Show game. Like, oh, I'm gonna push X and I'll throw a curveball. I'll push square and get a slider. It's that,
hey man,
and these are real people's arms and elbows and ligaments and name your body part out there. And it's, I mean, I get it to an extent, right? Yeah, yeah. A slider is a tougher pitch to hit, but it's also one that can hang up there as well if you don't throw it right. It may be a little tougher to control as well. I've seen that thought process in softball as well, Brian. A couple of the teams my daughters have played for and played against, they say the same thing. We're not throwing anything straight. And softball's a little different, right? Because you're throwing underhand, so you can do a little more. It's not as stressful on your arm, but at the same time, like, man, it's okay to get ahead or get a pitch to contact or whatever it is, right? Uh, yeah, Brian, I'll catch up on that over the
I need you to
weekend.
catch up. All right, this is my last thing I want to say. That was,
Yeah.
I was just, I don't know, man. I feel like we're going to be missing really good players, because they're like, we know the body profile and how the body works, and we can tell what's going to get outs in the big leagues. And they were showing like this schematic, like, looked like a skeleton, computer skeleton that was showing how the body worked, and we know the ideal profile to get guys out in the big leagues. And I was like, dude, I don't know. It doesn't look like to me Randy Johnson and Nolan Ryan were the same, but they both got people out. It's just, I don't know. It was just, I feel like some of these teams get so caught up in analytics that it's just, they miss, kind of the forest for the trees. I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Bregman is the guy. They've got some really good guys this year. But I was just totally turned off by all right, we know exactly what we need. We know exactly what you should be doing. And if you don't meet this, you probably don't have I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't like, again, I think Alex Gore is probably a really good guy. He connected, seems like he does really connect with the players.
He's an
Dominican
old school
standard.
guy. I mean, the Cora is
His whole
Cora's
family
in the
has
thing.
been in it,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, jump into other things. I know
Well, see,
we've got other
that ties
sports.
into, like I said, I had to watch. I didn't do my homework, Brian. I'm sorry, but I did. I mean, I watched Moneyball, and that era is kind of when all this started, right? And it was interesting to go back and kind of watch that movie again. And really, if you haven't seen Moneyball, it's kind of a must see baseball movie, right? But they go into Bill James and the analytics, and they hire the guy away from Cleveland to work for the A's, and all that kind of stuff. And they're trying to do more with less, and trying to find players that are basically getting on base to score runs. And so a couple of things to really pull away from there, right? So one thing that they do not mention, I think we've talked about this before, but the one thing they don't mention in the movie at all, and they totally just overlook, they had Tim Hudson, Barry Zito, and Mark Mulder, who were legitimately three of the top 10 starting pitchers, maybe in baseball at the time.
I agree. I agree.
And then they had Billy Koch on the back end, closing games out, who was also what the number five, I think number 5 overall pick in the 96 draft out of Clemson. It was also throwing 95 plus. They make it like Scott Hatterberg was the greatest player of all. No, he was very
He
average.
was solid, and he did a good job. And Dave Justice come in and did a good job when he was there.
Yeah,
And they were kind of the ones that, at least the way it was portrayed in the movie, they basically took all the stats and boiled it down to on base percentage.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I know it was more to it than that. Now I feel like we've done, I mean, it is so crazy, like body profiles. And I am into big on biomechanics and how the body works, but I'm not big in everybody being the same. And everybody's got to be the same to be successful. I just think that is a losing proposition, and you miss a lot of good players. But yeah, Moneyball is, I would agree. I mean, at least from my perception, that was kind of the beginning of maybe doing it a different way. Instead of talking to Joe, who's been a scout for 45 years and knows Billy's uncle and thinks this guy's got a chance to be special. That was kind of the old school kind of thought process. And I'm glad it's probably changed away from that, but I feel like we've went now to just like, at least Boston has, my perception, to analytics.
Yeah, and I think there's something to meet in the middle somewhere, right? Like analytics help certainly, right? Understanding some of that, but at the same time, dude, there's got to be some people actually watching the ball games. I think I shared this example as well before with yeah, my buddy Freddie Sanchez. So Freddie won the 2007 batting title with the Pirates, and he told me, he's like, we were having dinner a couple years ago, and he's like, look, he said, Stu, I wouldn't make a team these days. I wouldn't make a travel team, like one of these top travel teams, because my body, the way I run's a little funky and all this, and I led the big leagues in batting average. Like, does that even matter anymore? Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy,
it's
dude.
crazy.
Um,
I agree 100%.
yeah.
I agree 100%.
And the other
So,
thing that was funny is Kevin Euclid there's a little bit about him in that movie where he's the Greek god of walks. This guy is, I love him, that sort of thing, and like other teams passed up on him because he runs like a duck and this and that, and I can't remember if I've shared the story before, but so I played with Euclid in AAA in 2003, and he usually batted like 2 hole. And one game we were on the bus on the bus before a game, heading to the field or whatever, and he was talking to our guy who batted third or fourth, guy named Andy Dominique, and the Dahmer made it to the big leagues for a little bit, was kind of a little bit of a power hitting catcher. And so Euclid is like, Dom, you love it when I'm on base, don't you? This is, you get a chance to score, all that. And Dom was like, he's like, dude, no. He's like, hit the freaking ball in the gap once in a while. He's like, who cares if you walk? You can't run. You're slow. You're station to station. And you can see Euclid just deflate and like sink down into his seat. I was like, oh dang, Dama just kind of gave it to him a little bit there. But
that is
clearly
awesome.
Euclid had an amazing career and did really, and he was a good hitter, man. But that was kind of Dom's point. He's like, man, 3-1. Go after that pitch, dude. Like, drop that ball. Don't take it to get the walk the next pitch. Hit a double. Like, that was, and again, that was that old school, like, baseball mentality, man. Like, kind of man up a little bit. So,
And it felt like he kind of developed into that, but he may not have been that at that time. I mean, he definitely was a doubles guy eventually,
yeah.
but he may not have been that at that time. That's interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, so that was funny. So, did you see Hunter Windlestat today? The umpire, what happened to him?
No.
So, he was umpire was the Twins game, and right-handed hitter up, he was umpiring first base. Line drive hit him in the face.
Ooh.
And they carried him off the field, and I think they say he's doing okay in the hospital. But I actually was at my son's middle school game and was talking to one of the coaches. Weird, because I don't like the helmets at first base and third base coaching box. I don't think they're effective or really matter. Like, I mean, if you get hit in the face or this, like, those helmets don't protect anything really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we were kind of talking about it, and the guy I was coaching with, he actually said, he's like, yeah, they need to give the umpires helmets too. I mean, those guys are kind of closer to the action in the middle of things more than anybody. The guys in the field, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. And then, sure enough, dude, a day later, umpire gets hit in the face. I'm like, well, I mean, unless you have on one of those softball style helmets or hockey style, like it doesn't matter. Like, you're still getting hit in the head. It's
Yeah, and it probably makes a lot of sense for that guy that's coming across and standing around inside of second base for him to kind of have a hockey style mask on. To be honest, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Even now, when we stand behind and like do umpires and we call balls and strikes from behind the mound, I'm not 100% comfortable, and it's like, dude, these guys are pros. The ball's coming off at 110 miles an hour, whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't, it seems like there's probably a better way to kind of take an advance where we could eliminate some of that risk and put them in a better position, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. So Brian, that makes sense. I'm going back to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's in my mind still. And you mentioned body type and that sort of thing, how to get hitters out. So while we were at the Reds game over the weekend, they do fun little updates on prospects in the minor leagues and the farm system and all that stuff, right? And so they mentioned that a player named Zach Maxwell had been thrown pretty well. So Zach is one of the top prospects in the Reds organization. I think he's in Chattanooga to start the year. They list Zach at 6'6", 275. I'm looking at pictures of him. I'm saying homeboy's pushing 285, 290.
Mm.
Big old hoss, man. What would the Boston Red Sox say about Zach Maxwell from a body composure kind of thing?
Yeah, and I don't know. I would be interested to see. I would say, at least the perception that I got, they definitely have like a body type that they like. I mean, clearly there's been really big guys, and Paul Skeens is a big guy. Like you see him walk, he walks almost like that true or maybe not true Bigfoot film. Like
He's
whenever they're walking.
lumbering, yeah. So
Yeah, I
we
mean,
saw him this weekend, and anytime my son and I saw him on the field, like, oh, there's Skeens. Dude, his feet looked massive, and he was wearing kind of some like high top. He wears those high top shoes, like turfs or whatever, but he looks like lumbering, like long arms and just kind of
yeah. I mean, he's
like
just
a
big.
weird
I mean,
gait, a little bit
so
of a weird gait.
I
And
don't know. I mean, I guess, if you're throwing 97, 98 and you got a plus off speed pitch, that probably works no matter what. I would say that profile, I just kind of like what you originally said, like they want to treat everybody like they're a member of MLB The Show. And I don't know, just how that is. And then I don't know. I don't like that style of putting everybody in the box. I like results matter. And I feel like, I'm sure they bring guys up that are not necessarily in that profile that work, but it's interesting. It, there's some big kids. I mean, I see a lot of 6'2", 6'3", eighth graders. My son played football this past year, and obviously he was in seventh grade. He ran up against a kid, I guess it's in eighth grade, but he was 6'5", 6'6".
holy smokes.
And yeah, he looked like, and my son at the time, probably 5'6", 5'7". And so he was legitimately, it looked like he was a foot taller, and he could manhandle my son, which rightfully, I mean, it's a grown man. And so
You should be
that
able
kid
to,
played
yeah.
tight end, and my son was playing outside linebacker at the time. And so it was fun to kind of see it. But there are some big kids, and obviously they become big adults. But it is really interesting that they've got these profiles that they try to fit. And I don't know. I feel like the thing that has made, I've heard people talk about this on maybe the MLB Network, but you get a bunch of hitters that have all kind of the same profile as far as swing profile, and then the same pitchers get those guys out. You need a lineup that kind of has different profiles
Yeah.
that can hit different pitching and give yourself a chance to win when, bombs and, home runs are awesome in the regular season, but a lot of times what wins in the postseason is getting on base, moving runners, and playing a little bit of small ball, and then the home run. And so I feel like you need different profiles to actually win in the postseason. And so I don't know. I think there's just some flawed philosophy there that we'll see if it plays out. They got Bregman for a steal, I think, and he's a leader of men, it feels like, and people are going to follow him. So Boston's probably going to be right there at the end of the year, but they're in a tough division, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think the Orioles have hit their stride yet. I mean, the Yankees are going to be there at the end. Uh, Blue Jays,
Tampa Bay's always going to fight and figure out a way to be relevant.
yeah, Blue Jays are playing pretty well, so I think we're
Yeah, the Jays are playing well, and they're paying people, which is incredible, tons of cash. And so,
yeah. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's another contract. I mean, you think about the people that have signed contracts, and Vladdy getting 500 million, it really feels like I remember when Bryce Harper signed his deal. I was like, that's incredible, dude. I forget what his number was. But now you compare it to Vladdy and some of these other deals, obviously Otani, which he is kind of a, unique. He kind of is a unicorn. It doesn't feel like, it feels like a $330 million guy is a good deal now, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Well, I mean, I remember like the first massive, massive, massive one. The A-Rod deal was the 10-year 250 back in
Yeah.
like 01, 02, whenever that was, and at the time, like people were just blown away by that. And you think about that now, and it's like, man, like I know there's some inflation, but good grief, this is crazy. And then I'm curious, man, to see when Otani hops back on the mound, and when the Dodgers truly realize the full value of that contract, right? Because they're paying him to be both.
That's
That
right. That's exactly right. And if you pay two guys $350 million, especially if they're at the top of their games,
yeah.
you would think that's a fair deal. And so I have seen him throw some pins. The ball's coming out, pretty obviously as well. I haven't seen any guns on him, but I've seen clips where he was throwing pins, and it looks like old Otani. He's not necessarily tearing it up with a bat this year. I mean,
He's hitting
he
like
still has some
he's like
threat.
280, something like that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, I guess that's considered really good nowadays.
yeah. Well,
But
that's man, that's some of the
is that the
things.
new? Is 280 the new 300?
I mean, so he's hitting 280 with 5 home runs right now. Um, so not, yeah, like I said, not
I mean, it's
tearing.
solid, very solid. But it's
Yeah.
not a guy that you would be like, like Sosa. I know he signed that massive deal, and he actually made kind of a dumb comment, and it got posted in a magazine or something. And it's like, hey, when you're hitting behind the best player in the world, was talking about Judge
Oh
from last
God,
year.
yeah.
That's kind of a bad comment when you're hitting with Alonso. I mean, it's just you're on a
Alonso's
different
having a
team.
good year.
Yeah, and he's having a good year, but so not so much yet. Obviously, it's early. I feel like there's guys that really hit when it's hot, and
Yeah.
he is one of those guys. And I don't know. I
Yeah,
still think
yeah.
he was way
What's what?
overpaid.
This is interesting. I didn't realize this. So, Shohei has 75 at bats so far this year. So he's leading the league in runs scored. He's got 20 runs scored, which is and he's batting the lead off.
Yeah,
But he's got 5 home runs. Take a stab at how many RBIs he has, Brian.
10.
6.
Wow.
So,
I might have got to get on base. Yeah.
well, you need some guys in the bottom of the lineup to get
Well,
on base.
Freddie's been banged up a little bit,
Yeah,
and you need
Freddie's
some
not
guys.
been
That
healthy.
is kind of the downside of hitting leadoff. It maybe this lineup thing does make sense to hit your best guy in the 3 hole opposed to the 1 hole.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, they've won a lot, and obviously Judge hit a lot leadoff last year. But you got to have some guys at the bottom that get on, occasionally, or otherwise. Otani's hitting with nobody on, and he's not the same threat if when nobody's on as far as to be a run producer.
yeah, yeah. And I know a lot of lineups and that I faced and saw back in the day. They almost called it the second leadoff, right? Where they would take somebody, kind of a speedster, a little contact guy, and put him ninth. That way, you had something for the top of the order to kind of swing back around. So it's always interesting to see how lineups are constructed and that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you want to get your better hitters as many ABs as you possibly can. But
Yeah, and I guess that was the thought. I mean, again, I don't know. I kind of like putting our best hitter second. That's kind of where I like to do it.
yeah,
But it all works out in the end. And but yeah, hey Paulie, I need to get out of here on this, but I need you to watch the Clubhouse, and we need to report back. At least get the first couple of episodes, and I want you to tell me what your takeaways are.
right. We'll knock that out. But hey, thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. And hey, we'll keep bringing some fun content for you the rest of the week. I got Easter coming up. Brian, you have your pastel tie ready?
No, I don't know. I don't know how that became a thing. We can talk about that maybe tomorrow for Good Friday.
There you go. There you go. I like it. I like where your head's at. But all right. Well, y'all make it a great day. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Out, go Pack and Tigers.